right, that bought us enough time to get into the finals without too much silence, without too much dead air. So here we go. Best of 5 finals, another TvP. In the bottom right, appearing, I want to say for the first time in the finals of these Open Cups, it is GungFuBanda. In the top left, as the blue Terran, we have Liquid Clem from Clan Mlem. Say that 5 times fast. Liquid Clem from Clan Mlem. 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 Pretty sure I messed up multiple times. GungFuBanda is playing a bit differently, so this should be an extremely different type of TvP compared to our last series, Clem versus MaxPax. For probably obvious reasons, but if you don't know, MaxPax is a pretty damn cheesy player and also just has his own flair. His decision-making and compositions and strategies are also just very different. But that ended at 3-0. Clem was able to take MaxPax down no matter what the circumstances were. This should be more along the lines of a normal, maybe even like a Clem vs. Showtime type of TvP. Gungfu is a pretty straight up player. But it's a bit different just because he did go for a forward wall off here. Now that means the Reaper wall off is still available, and I imagine he'll try and wall it off with his Twilight Council, but this stops the Hellion run by. It also makes the Adept production a little bit closer, and on a map that's already small, those extra few seconds from here compared to here rather, can be big. Can be very annoying for the Terran player. And Gungfu is even doing a decent job of denying the command center for an extra half a second. You know, an extra 70 minerals there for Clem before he has to actually slap that down. And then even more delay. The Marine is out though, and Gungfu knows that something's on its way, so he's gonna skedaddle. There's the Adept and the Chrono, which you would do no matter what, but now it's going to get across the map pretty quickly. The probe comes back in just to get that SCV at least in one-shot range. It also scouts what's available, and that is the first time the Marine has shown itself. There's been no Reaper presence whatsoever. It didn't try and chase down the probe. It didn't go across the map. So Gungfu can feel super confident going across. He's still going to get a shield battery, so he's going to feel confident no matter what, but doesn't actually need the shield battery. Oh, Adept runs face first into the Marines. That's not what you want. That's not what you want at all. Already taking half of our hull damage is... It kind of actually just puts a stop in the tracks of this momentum that Gungfu was building up. The probe thing was cool. The gateway positioning was nice. The idea here was nice. It was never going to result in a huge victory, but it was supposed to be kind of something. And now with the one Adept already at half health, it's like, we'll see. Does stop the bunker, just a second away, but... Oh, the Marines still came back. Thought they were going for the surround. But the Adept, you know, the first one could have shaded behind, maybe killed or damaged some SCVs and then shaded out. And then the next two Adepts come up, stop the bunker, and kill a couple of weak Marines or weak SCVs. And now it's just the two Adepts being Adepts, shading their way back in. Behind all this, Gungfu went for a Stargate. And he's chronoing out those Phoenix. Clem has not gotten any scouting done outside of the SCV. Didn't go for a Reaper. But Gungfu also has not gotten a whole lot of scouting done. He knows about the 1 racks expand, but that's totally normal. Doesn't know about the 3 racks that is set up here. And the 3 racks really is a solid build to learn if you're just a pleb like most of us are. That's totally fine, do what you want. But the 3 racks actually isn't that common in TvP. So the fact that Clem, this is actually a second time in 4 games that we've seen a 3 racks from him, it's kind of surprising. One of the reasons that it's not really that popular is that the shield battery overcharge is really negated at the effectiveness of it. A shield battery prepared for 3 racks was already pretty damn good, but then to add on a shield overcharge to it made it sometimes impossible to get any real damage done. Now that's if he scouted, of course, so this has always been more so a build that hopes to be scouted at the last possible second. And this is getting scouted at the last possible second. There's already a shield battery, though. Gungfu's just playing very safe. A Phoenix is going to see the tail. Yeah, it's going to see some Marines. And that kind of only signifies one thing. That many Marines, it's a 3 racks. Gungfu, well, should be fine with the overcharge. The amount of units he has is kind of concerning. The Phoenix don't look so strong when there's that many Marines. Gateway's gonna fall. Clem being a little conservative with his stim, but there you go. Stim on top of the army. No overcharge. There's the overcharge. No chance for Clem to actually jump on top of that, but does focus fire down some of the Phoenix. Gets 6 probes. Not terrible. And he got a gateway. Wants a little bit more, though, especially if he's gonna get chased down. You know what? Actually, I think he's fine with that. Thing is that, you know, the Phoenix count, even if it wasn't reset... Oh no, oh Gungfu, oh no. Well, even before that happened, even before Clem got his reinforcements on the front lines and killed Gungfu, I was gonna say, the thing is that Gungfu doesn't have anything really that's scary following this up. Like, he didn't lose that many probes, but he wasn't in that great of an economic position to begin with. His Phoenix were all forced to be defensive, they couldn't go scout, they couldn't go harass the SCVs, and they're not necessarily getting better as we reach 7-8 minutes. They are good with Colossus, but that's Colossus only just started. So Clem has taken the economic lead, he's got a better army, now that medevacs are on their way out, of course he's got that one upgrade. Gungfu is just... Yeah, dealing with the 3 racks with his opener was just so uncomfortable for him. He would have much, you know, what you want is them to be going for a 1-1-1 into a Widowmine drop, which they then have to awkwardly either not do. They go, oh, okay, shit, it's Phoenix. All right, let me go to Viking and a Cyclone instead. Or they commit to, and then you kill the medevac. Like, that's what you want when you open up the Phoenix. The Phoenix against the 3 racks is so awkward. Gungfu, I'm not even sure he could have done much more. I mean... Maybe he committed, like, faster to a Colossus production. Maybe he could have been at 2 already. I don't know. The Phoenix, they're trying to do what they were supposed to be doing this entire time, which is actually harassing. And they get 4 SCVs, it's not bad. But Clem still up 8 with a 3rd CC finishing. He's gonna have 1-1 upgrades as well. He's gonna be able to steamroll over Gungfu, because Gungfu's gonna have to defend this 3rd. And the defense of this 3rd is going to be atrocious. It's not gonna happen. I'm actually kind of surprised he took this 3rd too. I guess he's thinking that his opponent's gonna... I mean, there's 2 things, right? Either he takes this base... Okay, yeah, GG. He takes the vertical base, the one on top of him, and then he gets out multitasked and he gets dropped even with Phoenix because he just doesn't have many units. Or he takes the triangle base, which protects him from, like, drops a little bit more, but it has a huge concave. So he just gets killed by the sheer size of the Terran army. No winning position right there for Gungfu. Gonna be a pretty quick open cup. I've been starting to listen to party songs again. Not that I couldn't listen to them beforehand, but there just didn't seem to really ever be any purpose. I'd listen to like a party song like, you know, Shots or whatever in September of last year, and then I'd just be sad. I couldn't go to any parties or do any social drinking. But now, blasting it in my car while I drive to the grocery store, now I can actually imagine. And let me tell you what, I am not embarrassed to say this. I will be full drunk girl, white girl wasted. Sorry, white girl wasted. Maybe I already am. You don't know. But I'll be full white girl wasted as soon as like another event happens and you can go to a bar and you can like be near other people. Me and all the StarCraft 2 casters are gonna be shooting shots. I don't care how sick I get, because I get sick pretty quickly when it comes to drinking. But I don't care. I will force those down. It will be the best unpleasant experience of my life. We got game number 2 underway. The top left, going for that forward wall off again. It's Gungfu. In the bottom right, he is Clem. He likes his mlem. He's going for a second gas already, too. So Clem is going to go for a bit more of a one-basey build. He's going to wall off the probe, and that's already red alert. That's red flag right there. Gungfu knows. He might start scouting immediately for proxy factory. That's definitely less common nowadays than it was like, what, like 2019 BlizzCon? What was it? 2018 BlizzCon, was it? I think it was 2018. But more likely, it's going to be like a starport proxy, or it's going to be, you know, a Hellion opener, though. It's even quicker than if you had actually gone for one max expand. So, scouting ASAP isn't of the utmost importance here for Gungfu, but he does still have to seriously consider changing up his build order plans. Most Terrans, again, because it's not 2018 and there aren't like full-on like 111 proxies like there were back then, you don't really have to change your Twilight Council opener to a Robo opener, which Robo kind of covers against everything. Stargate kind of covers against everything as well, so it's not terrible, but it's a Twilight Council that doesn't do anything for a long time. You're sitting there investing into a Blink upgrade that doesn't hit as fast as their tank push hits or their Banshee tank push hits or whatever they're doing. So if this was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, very different story. Nowadays, Gungfu could definitely still go for a Twilight Council. It just is one of those kind of concerning things where you're like, I don't actually know what he's doing. And the probe's scouting some very typical proxy starport locations. But right now, Clem's just going to go for a factory expand and, like I said, get a faster Hellions than usual. It's actually looking like a TvT opener where he's got Reapers, plural. He's got Hellions, plural. And then he's going to be able to take a more direct head-on fight against whatever Gungfu has. Because Gungfu's units are strong. This is a Protoss thing. Their individual units are strong, but they don't have a lot of them, especially in the early game. And here comes the attack. 2 Hellions, 3 Reapers, enough grenades to bop 2 Stalkers, even 3. They can't bop a building. So Gungfu does prepare for this. He's still going to lose 2 Stalkers by the looks of it. Nope, one's going to be saved thanks to the shield battery, but the 2 Reapers can definitely hop up to that main base. And Adept is already waiting, not quite going to get the kill. So 2 Reapers are going to be able to micro a little bit more. Make that 1 Reaper now. Gets 1 probe kill. Not gonna get a second. Not gonna get a second. So far, so good in the defense. 2 Hellions are still left alive and will try to slip on through or just do some scouting, but they're not gonna get very much done. They don't one-shot probes. Bunch of StarCraft 2 casters get a party like that. Should stream it. I mean, yeah, that's kind of what Home Story Cup is. Yeah, exactly. But the what I was gonna say is that you have to, like, there has to be a party that is streamed and everyone agrees, and then everyone knows the boundaries that they want to set for themselves. And then there's a party where there are no boundaries, because even the most, freewheeling of spirits who aren't, how do I say this? Who aren't going to do anything super stupid, even when they're totally plastered, are still going to be understandably more cautious if they're being streamed. So, yeah. As fun as it would be to see the true happenings of an after party. It's actually a place where you can just be cool. You can just have fun with your friends, you know? Which is why people streaming at after parties is totally uncool, and I'm actually glad that more after parties are specifically stating that you cannot stream. They even, like, discourage, like, video taking, so you can't take videos for your personal, like, scrapbook, but I prefer it that way. Because everyone can stream off a mobile phone nowadays. Technology. It's overrated. Speaking of technology being overrated, these Banshee. She ain't doing nothing. Tier 3? More like tier free. As in... I got nothing. Point is, Banshee doesn't do anything. But the Banshee is not about doing direct damage. She's about distraction. As well as his Widowmine drop. While the Stalkers are defending against the harassment, they're not out here picking off the Hellions, picking off the Marines, picking off the SCVs. So Clem gets to go across the map with no hindrance and gets to siege up and start building bunkers right in Gungfu's face. Shield battery is the first thing targeted. Gungfu quickly trying to replace it, but it's already too late. Shield battery, none at the third base. Okay, kind of one at the third base, but that's not really helpful. Gateway at the front, Semnex Core at the front, Robo at the front is very concerning. That Immortal is going to pop into fire and immediately get its shield popped too, making it far less effective. The tanks are up, the bunkers are about to be up. Clem is prepared to get a third CC behind this, by the way. Like, he's not just gonna all in with this, but it's already done a good amount of damage. A shield battery overcharge is fantastic with this Immortal. The bunker is done, and the Immortal does finally fall, but the tank's starting to fall as well. I think Gungfu will eventually clean things up, but it lasted a long time and did some decent damage to the infrastructure and to the army of Gungfu. So Clem can ultimately be happy with that. It's not as happy as he could be if it was just a straight up game over, GG, but he can be happy with that. Banshee getting a couple extra kills feels nice, especially because Clem actually, and this is definitely bold, but he actually raced across the map with the bio right before the medevac was out, but he once again finds Gungfu unable to respond in the way that Gungfu would want to respond. He kind of has to react as opposed to controlling the situation from the get-go. But a Colossus pops at a perfect time, really helping deal with what is only a small amount of bio units after all. Probes are still falling, however, in the main base. It looks like that Banshee dodged away and then came right back in. Still has so much cloak because she's been chilling to the side for so long. And this Banshee is actually doing so much more damage than the bio ever could. And the Banshee is still gonna live. She's still alive. And Clem runs away with the bio army that he has, is gonna join up with the rest of them. He's gonna have 1-1 upgrades in about 20 seconds here. His third CC is going to finish very soon. Gungfu's not too far behind, to be honest. He's not. He's actually still up 14 workers. So it's a good thing the Banshee did the damage that it did. And he is also working on his +1 upgrade. And you're going to kind of expect to be out-upgraded with this style that Gungfu's gone for. Actually into Colossus, not just like mass gateway army. And Charged about to finish. Thermal Lance about to finish. Gungfu actually still has everything required to do fine in this game. He just needs to be at the right place at all times. Wouldn't mind actually not connecting with too much. But the drop from the main to the third continuing to be annoying. Overcharge used, not going to save the cannon, but it will help out the Stalkers. The Stalkers will push that back. Banshee is going to come in again. Dear God. She's got Cloak again too, but Observer's here anyways. This army is going to run away. It's going to drag Gungfu's army with it. And Gungfu. Hello, Gungfu. You got to realize it's Clem. He's going to be multitasking. Oh no, where's the rest of the army? Yo, the Colossus pops, but it's all alone. That's a very small army to protect it, and Clem has so many Marauders with better upgrades. A Widowmine involved as well is going to help take out these Zealots. No, actually, just kidding. Not going to be able to take out the Zealots. It's still a good amount of Marauders left over, though. It looks like Gungfu, wow, this is a decision. This is a bold decision, but it's working out, actually. Clem not paying attention. Wasn't microing his Marauders, but Gungfu went across the map entirely. I thought he was initially just making a mistake by chasing down the Terran army, but he really wanted to commit to the attack. I don't know if that was actually the right call. If the Marauders were microing, they wouldn't have died. They would just be microing back and back and back, and then the army returning home from the fourth base attack would have been able to collapse in on Gungfu, but I mean, As it is, it's kind of a wash. Gungfu comes back home, consolidates his army, and is now up about 10 army supply. He's got to be careful with this engagement, though. 2 Colossus. Looks like it's going to be enough. It's not a ton of Marauders. And there was a Zealot Warping right behind it. Clem has no other little task force this time around either. It looks like maybe a Wood of Mine drop that was entirely cleaned up. No damage was taken. Gungfu playing a really good game so far. And Clem is now the one that's actually trying to catch up a little bit. You know, the economies are kind of fine for an expected TvP. That's fine. 4th base is on the way, down 10 workers. But Clem's army supply is not higher than Gungfu's. And that's usually what happens when we watch Clem fight. He takes fights, and eventually, before you know it, 4 fights in, now he's up 20 supply. And this time around, he is still trying to find Gungfu not paying attention in one particular place, and again, that 4th base is a little bit vulnerable. Takes out the stack defense, gets out of there before the recall can actually really punish it. A little bit of harassment on Clem's 3rd base, but is going to be cleaned up super quickly. Very fast response, and Clem now has his 4th turning into a planetary. Also finishing up his 2-2, getting some ghosts, a very good number of medevacs. Not a whole lot of Vikings yet, still only working on 1 starport. There we go. Just doesn't have the money to afford all of his barracks and all of his starports, but getting there. He's getting there. He'll also drop in at the 4th. So the armies are being completed. Well, this little supply depot doesn't see the warp prism, however. Missile turret is not going to be enough. Clem's going to respond pretty easily to this, though. Well, there you go. There it is. Because there's something else happening. Gungfu didn't use this as an opportunity to open up an attack on the 4th base or something like that. The Warp Prism even gets killed thanks to a Viking brought back home, too. Gungfu did take that Warp Prism opportunity to kill a couple of SCVs, the missile turret, and then also just make sure the army's back at home. So he's got a 5th base. He's now working on disruptors. He's got DT Blink on the way. Getting into +3 weapons and +1 armor now. Enhanced shockwaves only just begun. The ghost won't be the biggest part of this engagement. Oh, actually, Clem may be underestimating what Gungfu had. That is suddenly a fuck ton of zealots appearing from north. And now they're trying to envelop the Terran army. Not quite able to do so because Clem's micro is pretty good, and the EMPs came in the nick of time to really weaken those zealots. Gungfu actually letting the zealots chase like that probably lost a good too many, I guess, like to be straight up a good engagement, I suppose. But at this point, Gungfu doesn't really care about the lives of zealots. 100 minerals a pop is not the biggest deal for him at 84 workers and 5 bases. So they can chase for a little while, as long as he makes sure not to overchase and actually just have no buffer for his Stalkers and Colossus. That's always the funny thing about the engagements for Protoss at this point. When the Zealots rush forward like that, good Terran players won't be very intimidated by it. Unlucky! Unlucky. And they'll just micro against it, and then the Colossus are like running behind, like, we want to help! Let us help! Anyways, Clem is not going to get any drops off, unfortunately. He kind of needs them. He needs to control Gungfu's continued expansion. This is actually really interesting. Gungfu going for a 14-minute proxy gateway. I like it. I like it. It's also going to scout if that base is trying to be taken. So, all right, all right. Gungfu in complete control. It's barreling down the middle, looking for the engagements. Clem's army is not very impressive right now, and I'm actually wondering, is this all of it? Is that actually it? Some Liberator to siege up, and that's what's missing. They want to siege up and make sure that Gungfu doesn't go directly into the natural, but then as they unsiege, thinking that they're going to head to the 4th base, that's when Gungfu does head into the natural. The Liberator's get a couple of shots off, and then the Disruptor! Oh my goodness, the Disruptor hit was amazing. Clem having to pay attention to one too many things, is not doing his usual splitting. Now he is splitting like a god and trying to clean this army up, coming in from multiple directions. The Vikings have cleaned up the Colossus, the Marauders in plentiful numbers to clean up the Disruptors, but now that the Zealots come in, we have a lot of Zealots coming in looking for the kill. Clem's already lost 39 SCVs, so I think this will be it. Gungfu takes the macro game. GG. And that was not, you know, a super easy game for Gungfu. That was a game where Clem was throwing a lot of things at him and being somewhat successful with them. But his structure, the bones of Gungfu's play, was still very good. So he's able to shake it off. When everyone gets vaccinated and gets completely wasted, they should just ban phones. But how will you have drunken arguments solved if you can't just Google something? Can you imagine a world where you're fighting with a friend and you're like, no, 2 + 2 = 4. And they're like, no, I'm pretty sure it equals 5. And instead of just being like, I guess we won't know because we won't go to a library. We're too drunk to visit the library. You're not gonna do that. You're not gonna live in that world. No one's gonna survive in that world. How did anyone survive in that world? What were the 80s really like without the ability to just whip out your phone and be like, no, idiot. 2 + 2 = 4. God. More accurately, be stupid things like, you know, did Han fire first? It's probably still an ongoing drunken argument between people that phones can solve. I'm looking forward to being white girl wasted with a purpose. That's what's been missing. We've had some very full lobbies, so we have to do a little trading out. There you go. There we go. Game 3. It's all tied up. Gungfu proving why he's in the finals today. Grew up in that world? I mean, technically I grew up in that world as well because I was born in 91. So I didn't even have a phone, like my own cell phone, until I was like 14, I think, because I didn't care. And then it was, you know, a very old phone. And so I didn't get a smartphone until my brother gave me his hand-me-down iPhone 3 or something. Probably when I was like 17. So I grew up in that world too, but, you know, it was probably terrible. I probably just don't remember how terrible it was. Being in the playground and saying, no, Goku would win, and someone else says, no, Vegeta would win, and then I didn't have a phone that could just whip out the information. It was probably terrible. I probably hated my childhood. Ay, ay, ay. Pressure other people to take your side over theirs. There's a game for that. I'll get into it in a second. Oxide is our game 3 map. In the bottom left, we have Clem. Top right, we have Gungfu. Clem did open up with something a bit more unorthodox last game. Might just completely do away with that now that it's lost him a game and just play very standard from here on out. But there's a game for that. So I actually love arguments. I love arguments that are just entirely like in a context, right? So not even that they're frivolous arguments, because sometimes even frivolous arguments can suddenly become like serious, you know what I mean? But I love games that, like, they're games. So it's in the game, you are having this heated argument. So that when it's game over, you both just go, ah, you son of a gun. And then that's it. So that's why I like Mafia. Because only cool people play Mafia. And if you're not, it's quickly found out that you're not cool. Because you harbor grudges after the game's over. And I love the game Red Flags, which is a game that I'm going to take credit for, okay? At one point, it was seen at every single StarCraft 2 of after party and event. I'm taking credit for that. I found it, and then everyone else started copying me. But it's a game where, and because I love convincing people, you know? It's a game where everyone has white flags and red flags, and they're trying to set up the perfect date for the single person of the group, and which changes, you know? And so you could be like, you know, okay, this person's a mansion and is rich, you know, obviously. And then the person to the next of you would actually then put down a red flag and be like, okay, they're really rich and they have a mansion, but their feet smell like shit, or something like that. So then this happens with everyone, and the single person has to be convinced to choose. It's not like a points game. You can actually get really clever with it, and you can just like appeal to their senses. You know, if you know the person, you can be like, look, okay, I know you, and this is still the best guy for you because of X reason. I love that stuff. Because at the end of the day, too, if someone actually is getting kind of upset, it should just be like, well, that was the game. Blame the game, and let's move on. And I love it. But sometimes I feel like I'm the only person that actually likes playing games when there's alcohol involved. And that kind of makes me sad sometimes. Anywho, now that you all know what Red Flags is, I suggest playing it when you are allowed to socialize again. We've had a normal opener, officially. Gungfu went for a Twilight Council into 2-gate. So it's going to be a fast third Nexus. Clem has gone for 1-Rax expand into a Widowmine drop. Normal. Didn't miss anything. Reaper's finally gonna die. Scout's the intention to take a third base. In this medevac, we'll scout the actual third base. You can drop a Widowmine here and hope that they transfer probes, but you know you've been scouted. You try and still go into the natural. Apparently, Gungfu's blink's not done. The stalkers weren't quite in position. One probe will die. And this one's going to be a little more microable. You could even save the Widowmine for another attack later on. Lots of lost mining, so it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Oh, the micro. And we're done. Medevac lives, Widowmines die. As anticipated. Clem has got a Raven opener with a tank here, so he didn't actually see how many gateways his opponent had until that Widowmine drop. So, one safe tank position in kind of an anti-blink stalker position is good. It's a good idea, even if you know your opponent has a third base and thus is not going for a 4-gate. If they did go for a 3-gate, or if they are powering up their stalker count on 2 gateways, which is still possible, you know, they can come across, they can harass you a little bit. It's a little annoying. So a tank stops that from happening. Those types of games are played well with the blah 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 blah. Played between people that know each other really well, though. No. I mean, it's funny when that happens, but I played it with lots of randos, and it's always funny. Because, I mean, there is the chance that you know specifically that someone doesn't mind, like, armpit hair on a woman, right? Because that could be, like, someone's red flag. They're gonna be like, she's amazing, but she has armpit hair. And some people will be like, ew, gross. And other people won't care. So, you know, it's always a leg up if you know that. But most of them are just so painfully obvious, you know? Like, one of the red flags is, like, It's actually two children stacked on top of each other in a trench coat. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty much that's a deal breaker for, like, you know, most people. Anywho, we got an attack on the way. Clem's got 2 tanks and a lot of bio. Stim combat shields and +1 finishing. He's got an interference matrix. He's got 2 of them. He's gonna go for it. Actually, the force fields are good enough. Yeah, maybe not. Maybe not. A little bit of a gap there. But then Clem's kind of like, you know what? Maybe not. He still has 1 more interference matrix. But now that it's 2 Colossus, now that it's a lot more charge lots, he's not going to commit his forces in a kind of an uncertain scenario. He's going to pull back instead. So Gungfu defends. If there were no force fields, somehow he just wasn't paying attention, then he just straight up loses at that point. 30C scouted, delayed, but is ultimately coming down. Clem's starting to split up his army a little bit. Most of his army to the right. A little hit squad just for probe kills to the left. And Gungfu has also sent a lot of zealots over this way. There's not that many reinforcements. That's a lot of zealots. But Marines are already finding the probes, so this is going to be damage on both sides. And it looks like more damage for Clem so far. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, 100%. Medivac also still alive. Is going to go into the natural. There is still nothing there. Colossus pops. And that actually will be enough because it's pure Marine. "14 probes go down, 8 SCVs. Ultimately better for Clem, but negligible in a way. I mean, it does even up the work account, which favors the Terran, who's slapping down mules as well. But Gungfu now has a pretty powerful army. It's one that's vulnerable if it's concaved on. Sure, that's, you know, usually the case. But if it's going to try and bully this Terran army, you can do that pretty effectively. It's got the 3 Colossus with extended thermal lance. And it's got Zealot to take out these tanks. I don't think an actual engagement's what Gungfu wants, though. And now he's regretting it, too. Well, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe not. Anti-air missile plus interference matrix leaves us with only 2 Colossus left over. The tanks re-siege aggressively. Clem takes that engagement and just pounces on Gungfu's mistake. Now, Clem's army's getting a little bit weak with all these stims. There's still 2 Colossus alive, but I think he's got this. Gungfu just... he poked the bear, man. Absolutely poked the bear. That was more so an opportunity to try and, like, maybe get the bio over here, a quick tank kill here. Or if the bio was a little shy, kind of zip-zap, laser beam it down a couple of times. But to actually fully commit into a concave of bio that has tanks protecting it, I mean, obviously it was a mistake. That is, we can say that now. It was a mistake. The older you get, the more normal playing games and drunk becomes at parties. Really? People always tell me right now that playing party games is a thing that only, like, college people do. Now, my friends are kind of squares anyways. I mean, one of them went through a kind of a typical college experience and got white girl wasted a couple times, but most other ones did not. And they all pretty quickly stopped doing that, you know? Past college, they never bothered being the type to drink a whole lot. So they're kind of squares. So whenever I'm like, we should play a game, they're always like, no, that's for people who really want to drink a lot. That's for college people. Yada, yada, yada. And I'm always so sad because I guess I just like competition, but I also just like fun. I don't know, for me it's just fun. It's more fun than the occasional awkward silence that happens when people aren't super drunk and thus have word vomit. So they're just kind of like wondering what to say. It's more fun than that. And it's a super easy way to get, like, randos involved if you're looking to actually be in a social setting, which I guess they also aren't really the type to do that. Yeah, they also, people, whenever I bring up like King's Cup, which is one of my favorite games, I love the mini game aspect. Like, people always assume that I mean like balls to the wall King's Cup, you know, like doing waterfall with a 300-pound wrestler type stuff. And I'm like, no, like you can drink water. And as soon as I say that though, this is the weird thing, right? The same person who's like, no, King's Cup's only for like college freshmen who want to get wasted. And I go, well, people can play with water whenever I play it. I don't really care. I just like the games. They'll then say, oh, then what's the point? And I'm like, there's more to a point than just getting awake or wasted as fast as possible when you play games. Okay? If you want to drink water, you want to drink a beer, you want to drink straight up hard whiskey, I don't care. Whatever you're comfortable with. The point is we're all having fun. And that concept just like escapes people for some reason. I don't know. I guess I was just built differently. I don't know. We're potentially the last game of the series. In the top left, taking a 2-1 lead, we have Liquid Clem. In the bottom right, as the red Protoss, we have Cascades, GungFuBanda. Played a very good game. Game 2. Romanticide was great. And that last game wasn't so bad either. It is just one of those moments where you take another second to actually size up the situation and you go, wait a minute, maybe not. And you kind of pull back to the choke. And when you're like, oh, okay, I'm glad I pulled back, you still have, you have evacuation options. You have force field to throw down, you have recall to use. But because he was kind of gung-ho about jumping on top of those tanks, about jumping on top of that bio, I think the full might of Clem's army in a concave only became apparent to him as he initiated. So that was one of those more so one mistake and it's over games. -1 game since the Gungfu. This hexagon thing that the team league has started is so. I mean, the memes are amazing. I mean, I wasn't the type of person to drink a whole lot either. I mean, these are my friends that I had in middle school. The last 15 years, been friends with them, right? And in the beginning, we were all shy, painfully shy nerds. Well, shy is not the right word. We were definitely not, like, going to parties. And then, not all of them went to university. And when I did go to university, I was, like, a really, like, straight-A student who was doing track and field, so I didn't do any partying. And then I went to an art school where there was, like, 50 people in the school entirely. So there's no partying there. I didn't become so wild. My friends think I'm crazy. So until I actually got into esports. And I wasn't even like at the bar wilds in esport parties until after I had started playing Mafia. First, I got in to like parties, quote unquote, by playing Mafia a lot. Because Mafia used to be StarCraft players' jam. There would be always a humongous Mafia game at every StarCraft event. So that's the first experience I had. And then eventually it became just like, let's go to the bar. Little dance with the Adept here's kind of, I guess, interesting. Let's watch it. Adept's gonna shade out though. Oh, just kidding. She came back. She wanted, what did she even get? She got the SCV? She got the SCV. Well, I think the one Adept for the one SCV is actually fine. It is really annoying to get that delay on the command center, but then the other Adept not getting anything? Not as fine. Meh opener when you're on your last life there. Funnily enough, Gungfu did not go for the one unit wall off on Death Aura. I wonder why. That means that the Hellions can escape through without the need of a grenade. Blink only just starting up too. Wait, what? Really? That doesn't seem right. Well, okay, no, I guess it is. I mean, went for the Robo again. As opposed to going Twilight Council right into Blink and then later on adding on more stuff. So, alright, well that Blink's not going to be done for quite some time then. Still feels late to me. That medevac is full of Marines. It's going to jump on top of this army, and there is no shield battery. Gungfu played really safe in, I think, the first 2 games, but the one game he does not play safe is the one time that Clem actually does a pretty committed early game attack. These units are something that the Stalkers can absolutely micro against, 100%, but it's just so much more difficult than it should have been without the shield battery in the natural. Marines finally going down, Hellenine's finally going down, but after already killing 9 probes. Probably going to get a few more as well. And the medevac might even escape. He's going to go after the Observer, too. And the medevac will, in fact, escape, because Blink is not done. I swear Blink usually finishes around 5 minutes. I mean, last game, it was just like 10 seconds shy of finishing with the Widowmine drop, right? So this Blink is just late. Maybe the Stalkers can still find the medevac if Clem doesn't boost it again. He doesn't think he's being chased. He doesn't think he's being chased? Yeah. At least the medevac goes down. But that means that 12 SCVs went 12 probes, sorry, went down, an Observer, and the 2 Adepts in the front line. Gungfu is moving on into charge. He does have only 3 gases, so we might be trying to go for a mass gateway. Oh, okay. It's gonna add on a robotics bay. Well, then more gases will follow suit. Clem already finishing up his 3rd CC. Has his production set up. Soon work on 2 more barracks, getting his upgrades. Has a Raven once again, so any Colossus that pops out thanks to this robotics bay is gonna get instantly picked off. I don't know. Still time for Gungfu to recover. He's got until Stim finishes, which only just recently started. Another Raven will bite to dust. Gungfu still doesn't quite know the exact circumstances of his opponent's build. His 3rd CC is kind of quick. Would have been nice to get a confirmation on that. He saw units over there. More units than just a single Marine and a single Raven, so he might predict it's already down. I think he is. But that tank is siege, the Stalkers won't do anything. Gungfu is now adding on those Colossus. There you go. Still no additional gas? Oh, he took this one. I was waiting for his 4th gas in his natural. My mistake. With Clem going for a pretty fast 3rd CC with pretty quick double upgrades as well. He's not going to have that, you know, +1 combat shield stim. But he is going to have 1-1 combat shields and stim finish all together a little bit later. Gungfu is going to have a little bit more time to try and find something or a risk to take or damage to deal. But when Clem is ready to go, Clem's going to have a very large army. Clem's starting things off with a bit of a Widowmine drop. His upgrades are all finished, and he could also be moving out with this. He scans and sees a cannon and a shield battery, but the cannon's kind of north. Widowmines could definitely still get shots off. And there's the move out as well for Clem. So he might wait until the move out appears. Oh, medevac accidentally revealing itself. I don't know if it really wanted... Well, actually, it might have. It might want to reveal itself, because it definitely... Clem would definitely know the pylon would see it. So he might be purposely revealing it so that the Stalkers get ready, and thus aren't at the front lines. Observer is going to see the army. So the rest of the Protoss army, the Colossus and the Charge, that's all ready to go. And they got that high ground, a little bit of a choke there for Death Aura 2. Widowmine's actually snuck past the Stalkers in the 3rd, right into the natural. I thought I already heard 1 burrow, but I guess I'm crazy. 1 probe goes down, that's going to be it. And the scan revealing actually kind of a tempting 4th base. Not really in a position to take care of it. Clem's already working on his 4th base. Rallying units across the map as well. Still maybe looking for an engagement, but it's not as convincing as it once was. Not until Clem actually consolidates his army. He's up 20, and he's got the upgrades, but it's not all together. It's not all here. Here it comes now, actually. This is going to be pretty important. Anti-armor missile actually hits the heart of the Stalkers, less so on the Zealots, but they're being kited away anyways. The Raven was focus fired, and that's why he had to kind of panic and throw out anything possible. But Gungfu chose a very good time to push that away. Clem was not prepared for an engagement. He didn't have a concave, he didn't have his reinforcements, his Raven wasn't in a secure location. That was a good timing for Gungfu, who now has a 4th base done. He's also working on his 1-1, still going to be behind in upgrades for quite some time, but it's something to work with. And it's adding on a Dark Shrine. 2nd Robo too. I don't know if the Dark Shrine is going to do a whole lot yet. They aren't in that place where they're just banking thousands of minerals after all, but we'll see. I like that 2nd Robo. Temple Archives coming down as well, mostly for Archons. No one really wants to get Storm nowadays. And Clem is getting his own very good army. 2-2-1. 2nd Starport. Ghost Academy. You know the drill. You know the TvP. Scanned, I think, to say if see if that was the Zealots as a harassment force or was the literally entire army. I think that's why the scan went down. Wouldn't mind's gonna see the actual army, and Gungfu has to use a little bit of trick there to clean it up. Might actually want to include an observer in his army now that he's been reminded. Oh no! Oh no! Oh, that's so awkward. And he has to kill a 7X core. He's already replacing it, and he's got a decent number of stalkers anyways. But that's, it's a good thing he noticed it. I think that's the most important thing, was that he noticed it. Two is almost done for Clem, but he's not really setting up for a super main engagement. He split up his army 60-40. 60% going over to that 4th base, Ghosts and Vikings included. 40%, more just like a base bopping force. It'll get in, get out real quick. Not take around to engage. Clem? Not paying attention, but fortunately it only caught the tail end of that army. Still, that also confirmed that Clem wasn't paying attention and didn't have a lot of army, so Gungfu's gonna jump on top of that. Takes a couple Wood Mines to the face, sure, but is ultimately gonna chase this down. And with only a portion of Gungfu's army too. He is keeping his Colossus back at home, knowing that there's something else out there. Charge-Ups being warped and protect them as well, and he's doing a very good job. The macro game went his way the second time, the second game. And the third game, the last one, actually wasn't so bad for Gungfu either. He just made a really, big mistake when he attacked. So Clem's not finding any openings. Clem is going to move on into Liberators. Safe to do so. Gungfu's being, very defensive. I think Clem can tell that at this point. He's not trying to move out and engage or control a situation, which means that the drops and the multitasking isn't going to find much success. It also means the Liberators can get up in numbers safely and maybe go across the map. And that's something that Gungfu actually can't allow to happen. Gungfu is doing great as long as it's just the multitasking bio that he's dealing with by being defensive. But as soon as it is going to be more of the Liberator time, he's got to be out on the front lines like this. So I'm glad to see him do it. There's already a decent number of Liberators. Once again, catching Clem a little unaware, but not getting the greatest disruptor hit. But Clem is almost ready to go. He's almost got +2 and Liberator range. The Liberator number's already up to 6 or 7. He can start doing a bit of a slow push into Gungfu's 5th. He's also still got a bio army looking at the 4th. That was the 3rd, actually. The 3rd, in case it was vulnerable. It is not vulnerable, and actually Gungfu's getting a little tired of just having his Robo units over here. He's going to place down a lot more cannons. Also looking for an engagement over here. Is going to find a Liberator, maybe a Ghost, maybe 2. The Ghost did get the EMP off, though. And that is with enhanced shockwaves. Disruptors are really critical in these types of games because, not because they're good and they're splash, the very basic things about disruptors, but also because they allow a form of retreat. If things go sideways, if you underestimated the Terran army, or didn't realize they were coming in from multiple directions, then the disruptors can at least try and buy some wiggle room for you to actually escape. So they're not just something to use all at once in the desperate hope of finding that strike. It's always cool when you do, but it's actually not what the disruptors are 100% for. It's like 60% of their job. Now this is problematic. Gungfu actually lets the Liberators siege up on this ramp. He's gonna have to give the space, just that's it. He wanted to go for a little more control in the area by killing the rocks and being able to either go from behind or by the front. and didn't do it fast enough. Clem was actually fully committing to the push, so has to give up a base that he does need just because he hasn't replaced it. There's no 6th base already, which is the only thing that's concerning me, because Gungfu does have a bank. He is so close to maxed out, but he didn't have another 5th base to just go to, and Clem knows that as well. The Marine's going to stop this 5th base from coming up, so Clem now has an extra base on top of his opponent, plus all the extra orbitals. DT harassment so far not doing anything, or not much, and the Liberators are still breathing down Gungfu's back. And that is a lot of Liberators, and they're upgraded. No, 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 Gungfu. Woohoo! With the EMP too, like everything's getting one shot by these Liberators. Yo, youch, youch. Gungfu has lost control. He's actually got to either set up a 6th round or go for a bit of a base race. That's actually the position that he's found himself in since Clem has successfully gotten this far. Yeah, I think you gotta. He's gonna try and come from behind, but his stalker count's not even that impressive. Oh, and there's a planetary? What the fuck? There's already a planetary there. Oh, Gungfu. This is looking really bad for him. He still has a bank, and his 5th base is finally on the way again, but... his 3-3's done too, but it doesn't matter against Liberators. Gungfu... he's really, really in a tough spot. He's going to take down a lot of the Liberators in bio, which actually Clem gets a little overeager, unsieged about 5 of his Liberators, and then just fed them to the Stalkers, as opposed to leapfrogging them a bit more, so that's a mistake there. And now the other Liberators get taken out too, but just in the nick of time, reinforcements come in, EMPs come in, and the Planetary is still holding strong. Also going to have building armor as this engagement was coming close to it. Gungfu finally finds a successful engagement, because it was looking awfully scary before that. And he also not just found a successful engagement, he's actually been forcing Clem to kind of track his army backwards, as Clem didn't really want to dive, in for that potential base race. If Clem had gone forwards instead of tracking the army backwards, he would have been really the one initiating a base race. Which is something that you can definitely do as the Terran. Liberators protecting like this choke, for instance, gives you a leg up in a big way, but if you're not actually able to get right into your opponent's main and on top of their production as any race, you kind of want to think long and hard about actually base racing. Gungfu is going to be very bold here and go into that natural. He has opportunities, he's going to try, but he's also Protoss, and if he can recall, he will. But can't he? Already taking massive amounts of damage. EMPs, bio, Liberators. Gungfu loses a lot of army for trying to go up there, loses the Disruptor as well, and that was ultimately a big mistake again. He was making some strides, and that's awesome, but then just one really, really, really bad engagement sends him down to 40 below his opponent in that overall supply. I think it was actually down to like 60 below before he reinforced. So he's gotta get back to reinforcing and also make sure that he has the economy to do so, which is becoming increasingly more of a question, not just because of Liberator harassment, which is now killing a bunch of probes, and a double nuke. Is that a triple nuke? That is a triple nuke on top of that Nexus. But also because he just was running out of bases. This is starting to mine out. That is one of his healthiest mining bases, and it's not mining anymore.
Game resumed.
I want to see this triple nuke. Amazing. And the engagement is going to go in the way of Clem. A Disruptor not even getting a shot there as the Liberators just tear it to shreds. More Liberators, more Vikings landing. Not a whole lot of bio left over, sure, but doesn't matter. Gungfu does not have the resources to replace literally his entire army. I don't know, maybe he could have retreated with like some of his Stalkers and his Disruptors would try and get the heck out of there, but even if he did, looks like another nuke took down that Nexus. It almost looked like Gungfu was going to tap out, and now he's, rethinking, and he's like, okay, maybe I won't tap out, but yeah, that was too much army gone. Even if he was mining off of this base and this one, that's still too much army to give away. Gungfu's down 60 army supply. He's gonna have to hope for the most amazing Disruptor shots, which are not gonna happen here. One good Disruptor shot, that's great, but that's also it. Clem looking for the 3-1 in today's cup. He's got a lot of titles under his belt for this tournament. He's trying to beat Hero Marine's record as soon as possible. Gungfu trying to think his way out of this one. Maybe some harassment. Open in some DTs. Stalker's trying to kill Liberators, but then not able to even kill them. Nuke coming down. It's kind of the get the heck out of here nuke. And Gungfu will have to get the heck out of there. Some DTs were trying to cause some havoc, but the reinforcements will take care of it. That's all that Gungfu could really afford. And starting to get the Liberator count a little thin. The Disruptors are not finding the amazing hits. They just can't. Now Clem's able to win with pure bio. When the Disruptors count's high, when the Protoss army is the same, size as yours, kind of need to add on those Liberators. But now that it's back to a more basic game, Clem can just win with sheer numbers. I guess Gungfu is back up to mining on 2 bases pretty healthily, and he doesn't think that Clem might know about it, so he's thinking there might be a comeback possible. He might be able to remax, and he might be able to remax, actually. Well, not if he takes the engagement, which does not go well. My goodness, all of the EMPs, the concave as well. Gungfu. The Liberators weren't even the biggest worry in that, it was just the concave. And once again, committing to this attack. Not taking the Liberator particularly quickly. Gets a lot of extra shots. Here come in some double nukes. Triple nukes once again. We're going to end this game with some fireworks, I think. Ah, no! GG. Gungfu taps out. And Clem will take the 3-1 victory.